is Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Mondays are always exciting here on ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station, because we take a look back on ZiFM Sport, your favorite sports show, to the weekend that was, and there was plenty of action. FC Platinum playing in the CAF Confederations Cup. Well, that was the last time they played, at least in this edition, after they were beaten by AC Giraffe in Senegal. We'll be getting to hear the thoughts of Chris Midzi, Alois Munjira, and Barry Menandi over what transpired in Senegal and where it went wrong for Norman Mapeza and his men, and what are the areas they need to fix if they're to participate in CAF competitions. My name is Mike Madura. The producer of the show is Sean Tafirenyika. We also have international sport for you. Japan's Naomi Osaka claimed her second Australian Open title in 3 years after a straight sets victory over American Jennifer Brady on Saturday. And then yesterday, Novak Djokovic remained the king of Melbourne Park after outclassing Daniil Medvedev. The race for the GOAT is well and truly on.
We're going to take you around the world in 60, starting off in New Zealand, where Dan Carter announced his retirement from professional rugby, bringing an end to an illustrious career that spanned nearly 2 decades. In India, James Anderson admitted he was frustrated by missing the second test against India, but believes England's policy of rest and rotation will prove beneficial to both him and the team over time. And we'll touch down in the United States, where James Harden had 37 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists as the Brooklyn Nets won their 6th consecutive match with a 112-108 victory over the host LA Clippers early this morning.
We'll take a break for our play of the day. Then it's time for the Costa Lager World Football Report. We kick off in Italy, where Antonio Conte fell to Inter, produced an extraordinary performance in their 3-0 victory over AC Milan, picking out midfield duo Christian Eriksen and Ivan Perisic for special praise. In the Premier League, West Ham manager David Moyes says his side will keep calm after moving into the top 4 following derby victory over Tottenham yesterday. In the Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt midfielder Amin Younes scored a superb goal and helped to create another as his team beat leaders Bayern Munich 2-1 to stay on course for a Champions League spot. We also have updates from La Liga and the DStv Premiership. All makes for a very exciting review show here on Manic Monday. Let's start with our power play. Here's Falls. It's featuring Niniola. It's called Squander.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Don't forget, we'd love to hear from you. Our handle is at ZFM Sport, or even in our individual capacities at Gazaman14 for Alois Munjira, at Barry Menandi, at Chris Midzi, at Sean Tafirinika, and myself at Mike Madada. We start with FC Platinum. Their run in the CAF club competitions ended last night after they were beaten 1-0 by ASC Giraffe in the Confederations Cup group stage playoff second leg match played in Senegal. Following their 1-0 defeat at the National Sports Stadium in the first leg last week, it was always going to be difficult for Norman Mapeza's men to reverse the tie. Looking for a win in this one to progress to the next stage, the away side found themselves chasing the game as early as the 12th minute when Giraffe captain Madik Kane curled in from a free kick. Alois, we talked about the need for an early goal by FC Platinum on Friday when we previewed this match. It went horribly wrong because the Senegalese side are the ones that scored in the 12th minute.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, Mike, because it was supposed to be FC Platinum because they were already 1-0 down from the Harare match. They were supposed to get the early goal. Unfortunately, it was Jaraf that got the early goal. I was always worried, remember, when we talked about it, that, I don't see goals in FC Platinum. When I look around, I try to look at their player by player, the attacking players. I don't really see goals. I don't see anybody, even before COVID, when we were still playing, the last real goal scorer for FC Platinum was Djokovic and Osaka at that time when he was at his prime, when he was the soccer star of the year twice. He was scoring, but he was not even the prolific goal scorer. He was scoring from midfield. He was not even the striker. So when he left, there was just a goal drought. I don't remember any FC Platinum who scored more than 10 goals a season in the past few years besides Djokovic and Osaka. So it was always going to be an uphill task even in Senegal. So I was not surprised when eventually they actually lost 1-0 because they just can't score goals.
Well, things went from bad to worse after Lawrence Muhlanga was pulled out with a suspected calf injury with just 18 minutes on the clock. Now, Barry, let's go to that set piece that was scored by Kane. It was a fantastic free kick, if you have to call it that. But do you feel that Petrus Murray could have done better?
He certainly should have. In truth, it was on the goalkeeper side. I tried to watch replays of it and see whether he took a step maybe to his right and then that delayed his movement towards the far post where it eventually went in. And I couldn't see that movement. So I think that Petrus Murray was slightly flat-footed. You could see before it was taken, he was having a very heated conversation, let's call it that way, argument almost, with the way that his wall was being set up. So he wasn't happy to begin with. And if he wasn't happy, he should have actually compensated and protected his own side. So yeah, there's a measure of blame that we can assign to goalkeeper Petrus Murray for that goal that was scored by Kane, albeit that it was a fantastic free kick. So take nothing away from the delivery and ability of Madi Kane.
And Kane, having scored that goal, Chris, the equation didn't change for FC Platinum because they still needed 2 goals. Even if Kane hadn't scored, they still needed 2 goals to progress from this, barring, of course, a penalty shootout. So they still had opportunity and plenty of time to get those 2 goals. But like Alois has pointed out, he can't see the goals in this team, and the goals didn't come.
The goals didn't come. I think we spoke about it on Friday as well, to say, in as much as we would want FC Platinum to go out and to do well, in terms of actually scoring goals, which is what would have got them into the next round of the competition, it was probably a tougher ask, being that they couldn't even do it at the National Sports Stadium. What more after traveling and going across, and now they needed to score goals there in a more unfamiliar environment to them. So it's no surprise for me that that 1 goal was all that ASC Giraffe needed in order to seal this competition, this stage of the competition off.
Well, the men that lined up for FC Platinum yesterday, led by their captain and goalkeeper Petrus Murray, were Rafael Muduviwa, Lawrence Mhlanga, who was replaced by Donald Jinyai in the 18th minute after suffering an injury. Gift Bello, the man who gave away the penalty. Tawana Chikore played at left back. Ranzan Pavari, Raman Kutsanzira, Brian Banda. Rodo Chinyengetere got a start, his first start after his return to FC Platinum. Donald Teguru lasted 68 minutes before being replaced by Silas Songani, and Ralph Kawondera was leading the line in attack. So he didn't go with any conventional number 9 in that team, Alois. And you've got to say that he was trying things, but there has been a significant drop-off in quality in the FC Platinum squad if you compare them with the squad that Norman Mapeza had 2 years ago.
Most definitely, Mike, he did try, I don't know, because we spoke about it, that he needed a little bit of mobility up front. Ralph Kawondera and Rodwo Chinyengetere, he actually did that. I think he was also thinking along the same lines, the same as us. But like you say, that I said it before as well, that the quality has really, really dropped. I don't know what it is. Some might point it out to lack of a league program in Zimbabwe. But sometimes when you look at it, sometimes it's beyond that. It's just about individual ability of the players. The quality has really dropped. The quality that we knew, Silas Songane is quality, but the unfortunate part is he is like over his peak. He is no longer the Silas Songane.
So let me ask you this, Alois.
As well.
Since you've brought in Silas Songane, Alois, I'm just going to ask you this: has the recruitment been poor at FC Platinum?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, when it comes to Silas Songane, he was still playing in Europe. So I thought it was actually a good way. But for me, we have always said this, Mike, that FC Platinum they know that they are competing in Africa. So their recruitment should have centered. By now they should be having probably one player from Ghana, this big guy from Ivory Coast, and someone from Nigeria. They should be doing that. The South African clubs are doing it. The other clubs are doing it. The Zambians are doing it. You find the Congolese are doing it. You need that African flair in that team. FC Platinum has failed to do it, but they've got the resources to do it. They need to go that route if they want to compete favorably in Africa.
Alois, I'm going to completely agree with you, just to come on the back of that, Mikey. And you know what, Alois, it's a combination of factors. The first one obviously has got to be the fact that we don't have an active league program. Yes. Secondly, the recruitment has been quite shocking in truth, because if you look at the average ages of the players that they're bringing in your Donald Ngomas of this world, your Rodwell Chinyengeteres. Yes, these are players who have done it before. But this is an aging squad, and what you don't need is to have an aging squad where you are already playing catch up, as it were, because you don't have a league program that's going on. But also of bigger concern, number 3 for me, it has got to be the lack of basics. I think even just having simple things like, Alois, things like you teach your kids at the academy, like having an open stance when you're receiving a ball.
That is my biggest problem, Barry. That is the biggest problem.
Touching the ball and moving away from your marker, being able to play with your head up and see the movement in front of you. I didn't see any of that yesterday. In fact, there was
even
a lot of negativity. The first touch was shocking.
The first touch, Barry. Yes.
Little things like that, Mike, become very concerning, because then it's a measure of our entire footballing setup.
Absolutely. If this is FC Platinum, the champions that have dominated Zimbabwe football over the last few seasons, then it certainly is a cause of concern that this is supposed to be our best talent. But just going back to the recruitment, it's certainly, we talk about West Africa, we talk about, yes, we should be getting players from there. But if they're not that ambitious, why not just have a good scouting system that allows you to identify the best in this region? Look at some of the players from Namibia that are playing in the South African Premier League. Players like Deon Kevanji, popularly known as Hotto, who's one of Orlando Pirates' best players. You take a look at Peter Shalulile. I mean, what a striker. He's Namibian. Is it our arrogance that's forcing us to stop considering the likes of Botswana, Namibia, the likes of Mozambique, Malawi, as places that we can get players who can come and add value to our teams here? And I think FC Platinum has got to start looking in that direction. Is the biggest impediment, as we wrap up, Chris, is it the fact that FC Platinum are not willing to match the regional standard in terms of wages?
I think that's possibly a part of it. I think FC Platinum, when it comes to thinking about themselves, how they perceive themselves as an organization, I think they're still thinking of themselves as, the best domestically, and that they'll go out on the continent and they'll participate. But what they need to be thinking about now, and this goes right down from scouting to everything that they do in terms of their marketing, their communications, their reach across the country, that needs to now expand to a place where they see themselves, first of all, as a continental competitor. And when they start to do that, you can attract the right players. When you go onto the continent, you're not seen as gimmies, because people know that you can compete. So they need to raise their own standard. But that, first of all, starts with their perception of themselves.
Absolutely, Chris, and I just want to add to this discussion. And Alois, you talked about the fact that they haven't had a recognized goal scorer for a long time. Look at Aubrey Chirwa, who's now playing out at Azam. Zambian player,
yes.
Played at FC Platinum, was banging goals for them, and then he was stolen from them. Why don't they use that model going forward?
Yeah, that is a model that they need to use. And of course, FC Platinum will have plenty of time to think about it, because as it stands, we don't know when football is going to return locally. But the one thing that's for certain is that Zimbabwe will be asked to put forward a name to represent the nation in the next edition of the CAF Champions League. How will the PSL do it? How will ZiFM do it? Will it be FC Platinum getting another dance on Africa's dance floor? This is ZiFM Sport. Coming up, your local sports news roundup.
How is it, guys? Elvis Tikulayo Pomba Moyo, WPF.
This is The Bomb.
All Africa heavyweight champion 2-time. You are listening to ZiFM Sport.
All right, let's start with boxing, where a window of opportunity has opened up for local promoters following revelations by the boxing board that those willing to stage tournaments can now apply for consideration on a case-by-case basis. Boxing has been on hold ever since the outbreak of the coronavirus in 2019. Hundreds of boxers and promoters who solely survive on the sport have been prejudiced as a result. However, promoters can now stage tournaments, but they have to meet all the COVID-19 health guidelines and protocols to protect athletes and officials. On to rowing news now. Zimbabwe rower Danielle Kashula is gearing up for the 2021 World Rowing Indoor Championships, which are running from tomorrow until Saturday. Kashula is competing in the 500 meters at under 19 level, and the event is taking place virtually with competitors taking part from various locations around the world. The 13-year-old Form 2 pupil at Peterhouse Girls in Marondera set world records through the qualification rounds. Good luck to Danielle. Let's wrap it up with news of a sports administrative nature. Now, different national sports associations have welcomed the proposed sports council structure and believe it will unify the sporting fraternity in the country. The Minister of Youth, Sports, Arts and Recreation, Minister Kirsty Coventry, unveiled the proposed structure on Thursday. It will be made up of 15 members. 7 of them will be the minister's appointees, and the other 8 will come from national sports associations. The new structure will include the Zimbabwe Olympic Committee president, who will act as the first vice chairperson, and the Zimbabwe National Paralympic Committee president as the second vice chairperson. The chairperson will be a ministerial appointee. Michael, your thoughts on this announcement?
Well, it's a good development, Barry. I think this is effectively the restructuring of the Sports and Recreation Commission to modernize it and to bring the organization up to speed to meet the demands of modern sport in Zimbabwe. However, what I would love to go in tandem with this latest development, Barry, is a national sports policy, because it's the national sports policy that's going to guide sport in Zimbabwe. So a better structure like this one will be fundamentally crippled if there isn't a national sports policy that guides where sport is heading in this country. So that would be their first task. It was talked about during the time of Andrew Langa. It was acted upon during the times of Makosini Hlongwane. Great strides, we were told, were made, but nothing has come to fruition yet. So that should be their first order of business when they are eventually, of course, sworn in by Minister Kirsty Coventry.
The National Sports Council, a positive development according to Mike Madoda and indeed the ZiFM Sport team, but it needs the national sports policy to work in tandem with it, and possibly a national sports strategy. Let's see how this one unfolds. We hope that it's good for our sport, good for our athletes.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a castle.
From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
This past weekend, there was a conclusion of the first Grand Slam of the year, the Australian Open. Let's talk through the ladies section first. And the ladies champ was Japan's Naomi Osaka. And she says she does not want to be weighed down by the pressure of how many Grand Slam singles titles she can win after reclaiming the Australian Open on Saturday. The 23-year-old won her second Australian Open and fourth Grand Slam overall with a 6-4, 6-3 victory against American 22nd seed Jennifer Brady, with around 7,500 fans allowed to watch the final on the Rod Laver Arena. Let's hear from Osaka.
So the funny thing is, I don't look at expectations as a burden anymore. I feel like I'm at the point now where it's something that I've worked for, you know? Yeah, I feel like no one's expected things of me when I was younger, and now that I've kind of climbed up the ranks, of course there's going to be more pressures, but I feel like also that's motivation because I also want to do better for myself as well. I don't play the most tournaments in the tour, you know, like I just want to do well in all the tournaments that I play. That's my goal, is to be consistent this year, not to have a huge drop off randomly in the middle section like June, July, you know, how I usually do. But yeah, I feel like for me, I have to get comfortable on those surfaces. That's the key thing that, you know, I didn't play juniors, so I didn't grow up playing on grass at all. So I honestly think I'd have better luck on clay, because I think last year I didn't play bad at all. It's just something that I have to get more used to.
Z. And Chris, we sort of pointed out that whoever won the semi-final between Serena and Naomi Osaka was likely to go on and win it outright. And we were absolutely correct, because you got to say to yourself that on that side of the draw was ultimately going to be the champion. Osaka making it a very light bit of work to reclaim the Australian Open.
Yeah, no, definitely. We talked about it, and Serena Williams obviously not making it through, but we could see the grit. We could see Naomi Osaka match her in terms of power. We could see just how focused she was. So going into this final, for me, and I think for a lot of people as well, there was no doubt that Naomi Osaka was going to go away with this title. I think we've seen a lot more grit from her in terms of managing to get through these tournaments, get to the semis, get to the finals, and as she's gotten better and stronger, we're now seeing that she's managing to get these Grand Slams. Hopefully, this means a lot more consistency for her and a lot more confidence as well.
Mikey, the statistics army is out in force, and they're right to point out the statistics, but should we perhaps temper our expectations, because Osaka is the first women's player to win her first 4 Grand Slam finals since Monica Seles in 1991, and already you've got pundits who aren't allowed to speak on the mic, like our producer Sean Tafirenyika talking about baby goat. Perhaps we should be a bit more measured.
Yeah, we should be a bit more measured, because I'll just say one thing, Barry. Hard court, that is where she's dominant. That is where she performs. Check her record on clay. Check her record on grass. She's poor on those two surfaces. Talk about her being baby goat. She's got to up her game when she goes to Wimbledon, when she goes to France, because she's been poor. I think the last time out at Wimbledon, she was knocked out in the first round in 2019. On clay, she is poor. Those are surfaces, remember, that she didn't play on during her development as a young tennis player. So she's very confident when she's playing on hard courts. So her record is hardly surprising at the US Open and in Australia. But in order for her to win the Grand Slams, that will get her being talked about as one of the greatest all time, and she's still a long way from that. She's got to learn how to win on clay, and she's got to learn how to win on grass. You can't be a factor in only 2 Grand Slams. If you're going to make a fist of it, you're going to have to improve and find consistency on those 2 surfaces, which she traditionally does very poorly on.
And Chris, learning how to win on those surfaces means that she's got to put in some work. We saw that she put in some work on hard court. You just mentioned the fact that she almost overpowered Serena Williams, and it's very rare that we talk about anyone overpowering Serena Williams. So obviously there was some work put in. She needs to work on those surfaces in order for her to sort of get that consistency going, that at every Grand Slam she's in the conversation. It's just that she wins the Australian Open and then peters out, and then we meet her once again at the US Open. That's not going to be good enough if she wants to be one of those that are spoken about in that GOAT conversation.
Yeah, definitely not. She needs consistency. I think Naomi Osaka, we see spurts. We see her do well, like you said, US Open, Australian Open. We see her do well. We can see there's potential for us to start calling her the baby goat. We see the potential, but potential is not enough. You have to be able to get to the tournaments, to perform, regardless of what surface it is. So in terms of her, what she needs to work on now, like you rightly pointed out, and like Mike as well, she needs to definitely get the results on the different surfaces. She needs to put in work on those for us to be able to start having that baby go conversation, because you're not going to rack up 23, 24 Grand Slams if you only win the US and the Australian Open. So she definitely needs to put in work in terms of that.
Well, let me tell you, Mike said at the top of the show that the men's side of the draw has brought back the GOAT conversation in full force, full steam, because Novak Djokovic won the men's championship, and he says he will channel his focus on winning more Grand Slam titles after landing his 9th Australian Open to move 2 majors shy of longtime rivals Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal on the all-time men's list. Djokovic remained the king of Melbourne Park after sealing his 3rd consecutive Australian Open title and 9th overall as the world number 1, outclassed Daniil Medvedev 7-5, 6-2, 6-2 yesterday. Let's hear from Nole.
Calculating the amount of slams that Rafa predicting might win French or somewhere else, and myself, and getting closer to maybe Roger's Rafa record or Serena or Margaret. I mean, it's, look, everyone has their own journey and their own way of making history, and they've made history already, and they made a tremendous mark in our sport. I'm trying to build that and develop that myself in a very unique, authentic way that is suitable to me. Whether I think about winning more slams and breaking records, of course I do. And my most of my attention and my energy from this day forward is, and until I retire from tennis, is going to be directed in majors and trying to win more major trophies.
Z. Well, Mike, as previously advertised, you're the one who did. You said that the GOAT conversation is now back in the reckoning. Why do you say so?
Well, he's within striking distance, isn't he? He's now two behind Nadal and Roger Federer. Roger Federer, I think, is most vulnerable because of his age, because of the physical toll that tennis has taken on his body, and the fact that he's not able to participate in all the tournaments that will be coming up, and he might miss a major here and there. Rafael Nadal, we all know that, we go to Paris and we're expecting Rafael Nadal to add major number 22. Yep. So it'll probably mean that Nole will be 3 behind Rafael Nadal when he next gets a good opportunity to close the gap, which will be at Wimbledon. And then he'll be 2 behind. And then we go to the United States of America, where Rafael Nadal actually has a better record than Novak Djokovic at Flushing Meadows. So that one is a toss-up as to who wins at Flushing Meadows, because Rafael Nadal, of all the hard courts, of all the hard surfaces, Flushing Meadows is his favorite, and he's got the better of Novak Djokovic on that surface. So I think Rafael Nadal will add Grand Slams over the next 3-4 years, make no mistake about it. But Roger Federer, for me, I have my doubts as to his ability to add to the number that he has right now. So I think he's most vulnerable. At the end of the day, do I think Novak Djokovic will end up having more Grand Slams than Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer? Probably. I think so, because I think he's got an all-round game that's suited to him challenging on almost every surface. Whereas Rafael Nadal has got a banker in Paris, and then he's got a good chance at Flushing Meadows, and then everything sort of like falls away whenever he goes to Wimbledon and to Melbourne.
And it's always good to have a banker, and you got to say, Chris, that the banker for Novak Djokovic, even though he's 33 years young, has got to be the Australian Open. He loves going there. Of his 18 Grand Slams, 9 at the Australian Open, and this time in inverted commas, let me in quotation marks, with a bit of an abdominal strain. Didn't hamper him in any way.
I think we talked about this. The athletes will make little, they'll talk about little niggles and discuss them, so that if by any chance Daniel Medvedev had been the one to win, he could have pointed out to say, look, you know what, I wasn't necessarily feeling my best. So maybe, look, it may have slightly hampered his performance, but he did manage to get that win. So congratulations to him. Still a little bit problematic as a person, but congratulations to him.
Absolutely. So of his 18 majors in 18 Grand Slams, he has won 9 of the Australian Open, won the Serbian community out in Australia. Always turns out in full force when fans are allowed in full force at the Rod Laver Arena, and it certainly is the wind behind him that ensures that he wins that Grand Slam with some sort of consistency, does Novak Djokovic. He is the champion for 2021. Can he continue going? Mike Maduda thinks so, and it's hard to argue against him.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We took off in New Zealand, where Dan Carter announced his retirement from professional rugby, bringing an end to his illustrious career that spanned nearly 2 decades. The 38-year-old goes out having won 112 caps for New Zealand, with 2 World Cup winners' medals from being part of the victorious 2011 and 2015 sides. The Fly Half's tally of 1,598 points is also the most by any player in Test history. We'll head over to India, where James Anderson admitted he was frustrated by missing the second Test against India, but believes England's policy of rest and rotation will prove beneficial to both him and the team over time. After playing a starring role as England won the series opener, Anderson was left out of the side as India levelled the series with a crushing win in the second, with the Tourists keen to have their leading wicket taker fully fit for the day-night test in Ahmedabad. We'll touch down in the United States, where James Harden had 37 points, 11 rebounds and 7 assists as the Brooklyn Nets won their 6th consecutive match with a 112-108 victory over the host LA Clippers early this morning. Kyrie Irving scored 28 points with 8 assists as the Nets successfully completed a 5-game road trip. They also improved to 7 straight wins against the Pacific Division this season.
The Castle Lager Premier Soccer League, La Liga, Serie A, the English Premier League, the Bundesliga. It all comes together with the Castle on the Castle Lager World Football Report. The Nerazzurri, the Black and Blues, Inter Milan.
It's Romelu Lukaku, and it was never in doubt. He's a beast at the best of times, but this season he has become a monster.
The Giallorossi, the Yellow and Reds, AS Roma.
Velotti has a go! Tremendous hits! That's what he's capable of.
La Viola, the Purple Ones, Fiorentina.
Franck Ribéry seals a glorious win for Fiorentina with a sumptuous goal at San Siro.
The Bianconeri, the Black and Whites, Juventus.
Ronaldo seals yet another 3 points for Juventus.
Tough yet colourful, the best of Italian football on Z.
Kickoff is in Italy, and we start with your Serie A results. La Viola Fiorentina, too good for Spezia. It ended 3-0 for Fiorentina at home. Cagliari beaten at home by Torino 1-0. Lazio edging Sampdoria 1-0 in Rome. Genoa and Verona sharing 4 goals. It ended 2-0. The spoils also shared by Sassuolo and Bologna. That one ending 1-0. There was another 2-0 draw between Parma and Udinese, whilst AS Roma thought they'd won it late on, but a penalty was overturned by VAR in the first minute of added time to see them being held up by lowly Benevento. But the big game, all the focus this weekend was the Derby della Madonnina, the Battle of the San Siro, and Antonio Conte felt that Internazionale produced an extraordinary performance in their 3-0 victory over AC Milan, picking out midfield duo of Christian Eriksen and Ivan Perisic for special praise. Let's hear from Conte, who was also full of praise for Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez.
Loro lo sanno benissimo, è tutto parte da loro, perché
Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez know very well how important they are for us. They are crucial for our attacking and defending. I asked them to work a lot on our defensive side of the game, but this doesn't stop them from getting plenty of chances and scoring goals. We've seen this even today with the goals scored by Lautaro and Lukaku.
Well, what a game, Barry. And you've got to say that Inter, they put their hand up and they've underlined their title credentials.
They have indeed, and put on a show in every single position. They showed up in a major way, and right from the goalkeeper Handanovic, who captained the side, he was fantastic in the middle, in between the sticks, right through the lineup. They all showed up. They made it look like they wanted to win the derby. AC Milan got into the game in parts, but unfortunately you don't win those sort of games by only performing in patches and in parts. The players identified by Antonio Conte absolutely delivered in copious amounts.
Absolutely, and AC Milan failed to capitalize on the very good start to the second half, where Zlatan Ibrahimovic, I think 2 headers of his, they were stopped by Handanovic, who had an absolutely outstanding time in between the sticks for Internazionale. But perform in the big moments, Alois, is what you need to do in the big games. Inter winning the big games that could see them challenge Juventus for the title this season.
Yeah, Mike, I think Inter Milan, they are looking good for the money. You remember last year we said that, they were still assembling a very good side that is competitive. But when you look at this season now, they should be challenging. They've got a team, they've gone steady, and winning games like this, when you beat the title contenders, that can actually signal that they've got intent to actually challenge Juve for the championship. They've got a team that can do it player by player. I think they can still match Juve. Juve, of course, they've got a plus when it comes to Ronaldo, who wins them some important games. But when you look at player by player, you can actually believe that Inter Milan have got a squad that can go all the way to win. They can only shatter themselves by not playing to their strength, by not winning against. Sometimes, they can lose games that you would think that they will just walk through them, but they will lose. But if they are consistent, they beat teams that they are supposed to beat. I think they can go all the way to challenge Juve for this championship. I think this season is the year that they can actually win it.
And Chris, you take a look at the log table. Listen, Inter Milan are showing that consistency because they have lost just 2 matches this season, which is the best record in Serie A. So it's really no surprise to see them where they are. And then also, I think Alois mentioned Cristiano Ronaldo, who is a reliable source of goals for Juventus in the big games. You've got to say that Lukaku is playing that role for Inter, because come the big games this season, Lukaku has shown up.
Yeah, Lukaku has shown up over and over again for his teammates. If you take a look at this derby, he was able to get a goal and an assist. I think we're seeing Lukaku show up consistently. We're seeing a bit of leadership coming out of Lukaku as well. So if he's able to remain consistent and Inter is playing as a team, they're playing as a solid unit, if they're able to continue winning the games, then we definitely see a title challenge on our hands. At the moment, it's wide open.
Well, the way results went this weekend, Inter Milan are leading at the top of Serie A. They've got 53 points. That is now 4 better than their Milan rivals AC, who are in second place. AS Roma are in third. Surprise, surprise. They have got 44 points. Atalanta has crept up into the top 4 after they beat Napoli this past weekend. They've got 43 points. Lazio is in fifth. Juve is in 6th, knowing that they have to win in order to keep pace with the likes of Inter and AC Milan at the top. They take on Crotone in your Monday Night Football out of Italy.
From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport. All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudent. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
Let's give you your results out of England. Wolves prevailing at home over Leeds United 1-0 at Molineux. On the south coast, Chelsea going down there and only managing to leave with a point. It ended Southampton 1, Chelsea 1. Burnley and West Brom playing out a 0-0 draw, while Fulham in their quest for survival got a very good result against bottom side Sheffield United. Fulham winning 1-0. Leicester City doing what they needed to do over Aston Villa, prevailing over Aston Villa 2-1, and then Manchester City doing what Manchester City does, 1-0 over Arsenal. Manchester United 3-1 winners over Newcastle. But the story of the weekend has got to be the movements being done by David Moyes at West Ham. Now, the West Ham manager says his side will keep calm after moving into the top 4 thanks to goals from Mikel Antonio and Jesse Lingard in a 2-1 victory over London rivals Tottenham. Let's hear from Moyes.
Yeah, good. But I've told him I don't think we're only done half a job. I think if we continue this way, we'll be close. So I don't want to be negative in any way. It's a great result for us to beat Spurs. With the ambitions what they've got and what they have at their disposal. So no, we're enjoying it, but we're also not going to go daft. We'd be stupid to say anything, and we're going to keep calm about it. And but hopefully keep pushing and pressurising the teams near the top.
Alois, you got to say to yourself, we always saw David Moyes as a manager who could pull and extract the best out of a team that didn't seem like it could achieve what it has achieved, almost overachieve. He's doing the same that he did at Everton at West Ham United, and perhaps Manchester United could have given him a little more time, but that's water under the bridge. He's doing a great job at West Ham United.
Yeah, he is doing a great job at West Ham, but you think that maybe that's his specialty. He thrives in those kind of situations whereby he has to bring out the best out of average players, you can say, or the best out of a team that you don't expect to be where they are. But probably Manchester United was kind of like very big. I think it was like a culture shock for him as well, because that was a team that has just won the championship, and then he needed to maintain and match Alex Ferguson. I think those were too big a shoe to fill up. But where he is right now, I think he is in his pond. This is where he thrives, and he is doing it just as well as he did it with Everton. You can actually feel that, with the consistency that they've had so far around, and with the kind of recruitment that they've made at Everton, I think they can actually go on and actually claim a place in the top 4. It's actually looking very likely at this point in time.
I think Moyes thrives playing a certain system, defensive, structured, organized. I think the challenge with Moyes at Manchester United is that that's not the Manchester United way of playing football. There are certain managers, I believe, that will always do well at your medium-sized clubs, at your smaller clubs, because it's acceptable to play that way, where you play to get a result. I don't think David Moyes, as great as he is with West Ham United, would be considered by Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, those sort of sides, because you can't go and play the way he is playing right now and expect those clubs to probably move in the direction you want them to. So I thought at Manchester United he was always doomed to fail because the club was bigger than him and bigger than his approach and his tactics.
Certainly, Chris, and what sort of feeds into that narrative is the sort of recruitment he's done. He's recently, in the January window, brought in on loan from Manchester United Jesse Lingard, a player with pace, with trickery, to join the likes of Mikel Antonio up front. You look at those two players, and they delivered the goals in this match. They're both very quick, meaning that you can transition very quickly from your defensive posture and position. And then you look at the size of that team. They're a very big team, meaning that set pieces is another threat that they've got.
Yeah, it's another threat that they've got. But like you said, those two, the players that he's brought in, especially Jesse Lingard, it's almost like he's been given a significant lift going over to West Ham. He's playing brilliantly. You can see an almost attitude change in him. And because of that, he's going to keep scoring goals for West Ham. And how do you keep your place in the top four? You win games. How do you win games? You score goals.
Win games indeed will cause you to keep moving up the ladder and keep your position in the top four. Who knows at the end of the season? And to think that David Moyes is doing it all without their best player over the last few seasons who's been struggling with injury, and that's Manuel Lanzini. He hasn't performed or been able to be available for selection for quite some time. So quite a job being done out at West Ham. In other news, Everton ended their 24-game winless run at Anfield with a deserved 2-0 win over Liverpool, as Jurgen Klopp's men slipped to a fourth straight home defeat. This is a bit concerning, Michael. You got to think for Liverpool fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Liverpool is in a very dark and dreadful place at the moment. And I know we've talked about the injuries. We've talked about the misfortune. Jadon Henderson, case in point, he limped off early in that game. But I think Liverpool is lacking leadership at the moment, on-field leadership. When you are in this sort of place, you need players who can stand up and be able to drag their teammates out of this. So they've got good players. Sadio Mane is a good player. Mohamed Salah is a good player. Roberto Firmino, good players. Thiago, good players. Alisson, excellent, best goalkeeper in the world. But are they leaders? Because when you're up against it, when you're faced with adversity, you need leadership more than ability.
And you got to say to yourself that Everton are going great guns, and they certainly are. A first win in 24 games at Anfield, and ending that run courtesy of some splendid tactics and the great implementation of the players on the field. Everton themselves in with a shout for a top four place. Top four is going to be a tricky one to call this season because there are many teams that can actually achieve it. Up top, City. In second, Manchester United. Then in third, Leicester City. In fourth, West Ham United. Chelsea, Liverpool, Everton all follow them, and you got to think an outside chart for Champions League football still exists for Aston Villa, Tottenham, and possibly even Arsenal. Lots of football to be played in England, but there is football tonight where Brighton entertain Crystal Palace.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a castle.
Horsepower unmatched. Torque to beat the best. Speed unrivaled. Sleek and easy on the eye. Let's get behind the wheel of football engineered to perfection. The Bundesliga, made in Germany.
Let's give you a quick wrap of the European League, starting off with the Bundesliga. Your results from the weekend: Arminia Bielefeld going down against Wolfsburg 3-0. Cologne also going down against Stuttgart 1-0. Eintracht Frankfurt midfielder Amin Younes scored a superb goal and helped to create another as his team beat Bundesliga leaders Bayern Munich 2-1 to stay on course for a Champions League spot. Alois, you take a look at their last two performances. They were coming off the Club World Cup. They were held by Bielefeld. Now they've lost. Can you simply put this down to a quick turnaround and the team quite simply being tired at the moment?
Yeah, you can say that, Chris, that the team probably is tired. When you look at Bayern, they don't have that big a squad where you can actually rotate. They are unlike your Manchester City, where you can actually have two teams, two different teams that can actually compete at the same level. They don't have that kind of luxury. And, the games were coming one after the other. And, when you go to a tournament, it's actually very, very intense. It's very, very solid. And I can agree with you that they are now getting tired. I think this is a phase they need to freshen up a little bit. Probably if they can have a period where they can play lesser opponents, where they can actually go for 2 weeks without getting very tight games, then they can actually have a breather and come back. I think it's just a period. They just need a breather. Once they have a breather, maybe 1 week breather, they can come back and start winning again. Probably, I agree with you 100%. It's just this break that they can actually go over this period. Once they get back into their groove again, they can start going again. But we know that they are the best team in Germany, and once they start winning, they can actually carry on and actually stretch it up.
They need to carry on winning, though, because sitting 2 points behind them is RB Leipzig, and they eased past Hertha Berlin 3-0 to cut the gap with the leaders, still Bayern Munich. Borussia Mönchengladbach going down against Mainz 2-1. Freiburg going down at home against Union Berlin. That was 1-0. Augsburg and Bayer Leverkusen coming to a 1-1 draw. Hoffenheim with a 4-0 thumping of Werder Bremen. Visitors Borussia Dortmund crushed Schalke 4-0 in the Revier Derby with 2 goals from Erling Haaland to earn their first win in 3 league matches and a big shot of confidence in their battle for a top 4 finish. Let's head over to Spain with your La Liga weekend results. Real Betis 1-0 against Getafe. Elche 1-0 against AIBA. Valencia with a 2-0 win against Celta Vigo. Diego Simeone made no excuses after Atletico Madrid slumped to a 2-0 defeat to Levante and urged the side to respond to a first home loss since December 2019. Real Madrid now 3 points behind them, Mike. This is not the best time for Atletico to be dropping points, especially against teams that they should be beating quite confidently.
Yeah, this is something of a setback for Atletico Madrid, Chris. I really thought after, they played Levante in midweek and then having to play them again back-to-back in La Liga, that they were going to be able to rectify the wrongs of that midweek misadventure. But they weren't able to get over the line. They looked somewhat toothless. And I think one of the things that Diego Simeone needs to do is try and get a measure of performance out of Joao Felix, because Luis Suarez can't be expected to do it by himself all the time. He's got to have someone who's going to be with him, someone who's able to score now and again, someone who's able to create those goals. So for me, Atletico Madrid will now be nervously looking over their shoulders to Real Madrid and quite possibly even Barcelona.
The rest of your results: Real Sociedad 4-0 against Alaves. Huesca with the 3-2 win over Granada Athletic Club, and Villarreal coming to a 1-1 draw. Real Madrid midfielder Casemiro made amends for missing 2 free headers by finally nodding in the only goal as his side earned a hard-fought 1-0 victory away to Real Valladolid. Lionel Messi scored on his club record 506th La Liga appearance, but Barcelona could only bounce back from their Champions League defeat by Paris Saint-Germain with a 1-1 draw against Cadiz. Tonight's match, still some action: Osasuna versus Sevilla.
We're out of time, but before we go, suffice to say, Gavin Hunt, the coach of the Amakosi Kaizer Chiefs in South Africa, has bemoaned yet another costly error after their 1-1 draw against SuperSport United on Saturday afternoon. Another notable result was the 1-1 draw between Cape Town City and Swallows, and Chakuma getting a great victory over Stellenbosch, prevailing 1-0. Tomorrow is Top Hit Tuesday here on ZiFM Sport. Hopefully you had a great National Youth Day. Tomorrow it's back to normal work, or at least the new normal, even though you might be working from home as we are doing. We'll catch you tomorrow. Don't miss the show 5 after 6 on ZiFM Stereo. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.